In this video, which is the third part of this series, we're going to focus on creating these arcs here, where we make sure that when we hover on these segments, the color will lighten up. Let's start to explore how to do this. So let's continue on, and in this case we have already part 1 done, part 2 done, and now we want to have these arc slices here with a thick border at the very top. To do this, let's show you, there we have it. We have to create this effect as well, but we want to make sure that there's only one of these values thick. So how do we do this? So we're going down here, and then within these angle lines plugin, we can just continue on with this. But we can probably be in here, and then from here on, we're going to start to draw. So what do we need to do here? The first thing what we need to know is what is the range from this point all the way to here. And if I'm not mistaken, we started here with a -4 or -3. But we don't know what's the range difference. Basically, if this is whatever it is, -3, and this is 6, there should be like 9 or 10 value points difference. The range, what we call that. To search that, we can find these details in here. Probably not even in there, but we can go into the R, the radial scale, save, refresh. Open up this. Then we have here the items, and then we can see here it starts at -4. The maximum is 6, so that would say 10 or 11. If we include 0, it should be 11 items. So if we go down here, we'll see here the value range. Apparently it is just 10. Alright, I'll accept that. This is the range between the minimum and the max. So let's grab this value range. We're going to say this. So we're going to say here dot value range. So once we know the value range, what we need to know next is what is the length of this point all the way here. How many pixels this is. We divide it by the range of 10 in this case. Luckily we already have that. That's the drawing area. So what we can find here is basically the pixel thickness of that area. So what I'm going to do here now is the following. I'm going to say here, this will be our arcs, because this is related to the arcs. And then what I want to do here is, let's get the constant value range first, which is equal to R value range. Then what I want to do here is, let's calculate that thick segment. And this value range should not be with an underscore, because that's only this one here. So what we want to have here is the thickness. So we can say here constant, and we can say here the thick segment. Basically that is this thick segment difference here. That's the thickness that I want to measure. That is the value range. And then we divide that value range. Well, maybe we can just call this a range. Or we get the drawing area divided by the amount of range we have, which is in this case 10. So once we did this, I want to draw a line here specifically. So I'm going to use a trick here, because there are some other ways to do it. I had a struggle with it, so I'm going to use the smartest trick that I could figure out easy. So that's what we're going to do here now. So what I'm going to say here is ctx.save to save all variables above. And then what I'm going to do here is ctx. And then what I need to do is to calculate the arc. So I need to start again at the center here. We already know all of this information. Here we have the translate and the rotation. Well, we will not use this rotation yet. Later on we'll do something with that. But we're going to work with this translate. And then after, of course, ctx.restore to undo whatever we did. So let's now, between here, start to code a simple line. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say ctx.begin path, create a line that's independent of anything else, and then what I'm going to say here is ctx dot, well, let's give it a color first, stroke, style. Let's make this red for now. Then I'm going to say ctx dot, and then we can say here, we need here, what do we need here is probably the starting point of the arc. So we're going to say arc. And then what I need is the x and y coordinates, the radius. And then we're going to say here angle start, angle end, and then counterclockwise, counterclockwise true or false. In this case, we're going to say false. Most of the times we'll be using false, so this one is false by default. Alright, so now we have this here. The x and y is this here. So we want to start at the center, because what we want to do is we want to calculate the center. The radius would indicate how far are we going out, how far from the center. We have the circle starting, and then we're going to draw that line like that. So what I'm going to do here is the following. I'm going to say here, this will be 0, 0, because we already translated this. That forces it into this 0 position. The radius for now, what we could do is, I'll just say here, I guess here the tick segment, and what we should do here now is recalculate the amount of segments we have, or something like that. Hold on, let me check. Oh, I guess we can even find it easier. Instead of this is fine, we leave this here, but we don't have to calculate. I was thinking we had to calculate this number here, but no, we can get these details already. To get this detail, I need a console log again, and then before I even do that, I need to hide this. And let's cut this out and put it in here. So what do I need here? I need to know the distance from this point to here. This distance is already given in the chart.getDataSetMeta index0.data index0, which is the first data point. And what I need here is, because we can get here from everyone, but I'm getting it from a specific one, I need here the outer radius. The outer radius is in this case 194 plus pixels. So this is what I need, and for every data point we have this data. So what I'm going to do here then is the outer radius. Maybe we can say a constant and say outer radius is, let's get that one here. And again, later on we need a for each loop, so don't worry about that, we're going to fine tune that. So then we can say here outer radius, starting angle in this case would be this starting angle here, or no, not even, we don't have to even use this because we're going to do translation later on, or rotation, but we know we start here to there. So what do we need here is, I need to know how many segments we have here. If we have 7 segments, we can divide 360 degrees by 7, and we get the value, what that value is. That will be our circle, or basically the arc. So what I'm going to do here, let's see, we can just put it here down. Then what I'm going to say here, constant, and let's first do an angle, because I need to make sure we have this. An angle is basically the math.pi divided by 180 degrees. We know that one circle equals 2 pi, so, or a full circle equals 2 pi, half circle is 1 pi. So the next thing what I want to do here is constant degrees. And I just need to know how many items we have. We have 360 degrees for a full circle, divide by, and then what I will do is I'll just get the length of the labels. The amount of labels would indicate how many items we have. So we have here the data object. We can use this data.labels.length. Once we get that, we get the right amount here. That should be about 70 plus or something like that, or I'm not even sure. Should be anything, but we're going to use that. So what we could say here then is, what is the starting angle? So the starting angle, that would be starting at the very top here. Alright, this is very important. We know when we start here, if we have 0 degrees, we start at 0. That's this side here on the very, I guess the right side here of the circle. So I need to move from 0 to 170 degrees rotated to here. So the first thing here will be angle multiplied by 270. Then the ending angle will be angle plus 2 multiplied by 270. And then what we can do here, and then what we do is we need to add up here I guess, with this 270, the additional degrees that we calculate here. So we're going to say plus, there we are, save, refresh. Alright, we didn't draw anything yet, so let's start to draw now. ctx.stroke to draw this, the stroke style. I can say here ctx.stroke or line width. Thickness of the line, let's make this 5 for now. Save that, refresh. There we are. I think we have a very nice item here, but you will say, well, what happened if I make this 10? We have a problem because it starts to stop here. What I want to do is I want to have it not here, I want it here. I want this point to this, basically that segment being covered. So what I need to do here, our outer radius needs to be reduced. How much exactly? By the thick segment, because this thick segment, which calculates the thickness, will be eventually in here. Like that, as you can see here, that's not really in the right position. So what we need to do, because it draws from this point and then it will thicken both sides. It goes thicker up 50% and thicker down 50%. So I want to reposition it here down. So I just need to go down a little bit. And how much exactly I need to go down? I need to reduce the outer radius probably by halfway. So what I'm going to do here, let's make a new one here. So I say, let's do the outer radius. So constant, they'll call it the center radius, and the center radius will be equal to outer radius. And then we should probably say here minus, I'm thinking that we need to divide the thick segment by 2, but let's see if this works. Like that, minus the thick segment, and then, alright, of course this needs to be in here. Let's see if this is in the right position. Oh, hold on, what's going on here? Outer radius, center radius. Arc is on negative. Alright, this is an issue here, of course. The reason why this is not allowed is because here it calculates, but it loads from the center. So if it loads from the center, it can be negative at the moment until. So what I need to do is I need to make sure that it loads, and if it's negative, it by default sets to 0 until it becomes the big size or the shape that is above 0. So we're not allowed to be negative in number. So what I need to do here is create a filter for that. So to do that, what I can do here is the following. We can just say here an if statement. And this if statement is if. And I'm going to say here if the center radius, and the center radius would be smaller than 0. What I want to do in that case is center radius will be equal to 0. And it's only for that. So this would avoid our recalculation issue, assignment of constant variable, of course. So we are not allowed to assign this, and we need to say here, this is a let, it's not a constant anymore, it's a let value. There we are. So now we have that issue solved, but you can see here, I thought so we have to divide it by 2. So let's divide this by 2, because we're going too deep. Now we are in the center. Look at that. Beautiful. Alright, so now we have this. I want to make sure that it will reflect on every one of them. So we can do here again a for each loop. I'm just going to copy this, put it in here, and then say here for each, then say for each data point index function error expression. There we are. And then let's cut out this entire chunk, put it in here. There we are. And then let's save that. And let's start to work on all the items that we have calculated here. So the center radius, outer radius, this one needs to be in the for each loop. And the reason why is we're going to work here with the index. So that would always change itself. These are all constant that will keep on staying the same, so don't need to do anything from there. Let's clear and clean up a bit. Alright, I think we're getting very close to this. Save, refresh, Alright, as you can see here, it does, but it doesn't rotate properly. And let's put the color now for the right one. So I'm going to say data sets index 0 dot what is our background color here? Well, what I will do is I'll just do border color for now. Border color index, save, refresh. There we are. It looks like it's doing, but it's overlapping certain shapes. So let's rotate this now. To rotate this, I need to do here after the translation ctx.rotate, and the rotation that we're going to use here will be basically from the start angle that is in the getDataset method. We have the start angle and the end angle. So what I'm going to say here is very simple. I guess the data point, we can just grab this data point here. Dot. And then we're going to say here from the data point, start angle. And then let's save that and see if this rotation works. Alright, the reason why this doesn't work yet is because we're starting again from 0 here and we need to be at 270, or we need to work with the right calculation. For that, I'm going to use very simple math.pi multiply by 0.5. Let's see if this one gets it in the right position. There we are. So now we have this here, but I'm not satisfied yet because what I want to do now is the hover effect. So if I have the tooltip, let's see here, tooltip, save. What I would like to do is, as you can see here, if you hover, it should just highlight this a bit more. What this would be even nicer is to make this a solid color, like gray color, and then from there on. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to say here, this will be the hover border color. I'm going to grab that one, and then that will be solid, and maybe we can just say here, just a slight difference. I just want to make sure we have a difference, so I'm going to give this a different color for now. Save. Alright, and then when I hover, I want to highlight this color a bit more, or at least this slice specifically. And this could be a gray inside here, a solid gray, so you will not see anything else. Maybe that's even nicer if you do that. And we just say gray. We can do it like that. Oh, this is of course a string. Save. There we are. So you can see this has some effect. Should be light gray. That's much better. You can see here we have the effect. I want to emulate the effect here as well. So to do that, I need to create the hover effect. So for the hover effect, what I'm going to do here is checking when are we hovering on a segment. So what I'm going to do here, we have all of this, and then we can just say here underneath, where's the color assignment, segment, stroke, color. Oh, that's this one here. Stroke style as the color. So then what I can say here is the following. Maybe we do it here on there. Constant, or let's do a console log first, because what I want to do is I want to make sure how would you know you're hovering on the right slice. And you can do this by adding up something very specific. It's what we call the active element. So that is basically the chart.get active elements. There we are. And then like that, save. That's a built-in function. So if I do this and hover over the item here, one of these slices, you can see it's either opens or not. But if I open it, you will see here the index and the data set. So we have only one of those for every data set and index. So what I want to do is, well, let's do it very simple. We say constant, and then we should give this a proper name for this. So we can say here the active element, or elements. And then what we want to do here is to check if it's active, give it a color. So we say if, and then we're going to say here the active elements. Then we say here dot length. So if it has a length, And what I want to do is, because we get also the index number, I want to match that index number what we're hovering on together with the index here. So if this and the active elements index 0 dot index equals strict the index number, in that case I want to change the color. And the color, so if this is the case, I want to have a different color, and the color of the stroke style will then be not the border color but the hover border color index number. Let's test this, see if I am correct. There we are. That looks much nicer. And I think here we have this, and maybe even the point style should be a color, or you can change that one. But this looks honestly quite nice and has this everything what we probably need. And there we are.